Okay, so we got 2005 Nissan Altima 4-cylinder with a 2.5. If you can see that, we got 200,000 on the odometer. The complaint for this guy is, the guy was saying that when he kind of get in it in the morning, it would shake really bad. His words were, felt like the engine was going to fall out. So I'll take that as a misfire. He said that it mainly happened when he first got in it. Didn't really feel it too much as it warmed up. So we'll check for codes. We'll see what we see. These older Nissans don't really help us out too much usually. And we do have a P0301 cylinder 1 misfire. It says 7 times, so it is a reoccurring issue. Unfortunately on these we don't really have much in the way of useful data. What I like to do when you get a single cylinder misfire, the guy, he doesn't know when he's done spark plugs last, so yeah, you throw a set of plugs in there, but it's nice if you could get misfire counters, especially when you have a code for a single cylinder misfire, because then you could move coils around and see if there's anything else that's amiss, or if it's just the set of spark plugs. But as you can see, we got nothing at all related to misfire. There's no misfire counters or anything that would help us out with that. We do have, if we go to active test, there is a power balance. Just click that, it doesn't really matter. But the power balance doesn't really tell you, well, I can start it, show you what that does. Oh, now it's just misfiring pretty good. The power balance doesn't really tell you which cylinders is counting misfires. All it does is it'll just take out one cylinder at a time. So say cylinder 1, and you feel the drop, right? Well, that's all fine and good if you have a dead miss, but we're misfiring right now, and just can't really tell which one's worse than the others when we're dropping them off. So unless you got a dead miss, although right now it seems like when we disabled cylinder 4, is that actually dropping that? See, this is what I don't like about these. Okay, so that dropped that. It does seem like right now cylinder 4 is a bad misfire. So it gives us a little bit of direction. We got more than one cylinder. Okay, so it does feel, right now it does feel purely ignition related. Sometimes what I like to do, if we can't get a good direction, I'll look at the fuel trims, kind of get a feel for that. We could do that now. When we're in Nissan mode, it gives us lambda readings. I prefer regular fuel trim percents. I'm more used to them, so I'll go out of that mode and I'll just go into generic OBD2 mode. Anytime now. There we go. Okay. Have data. Alright, so if we look at it, we got 3. We got about a total of about 10. If we rev it up a little bit. Oh yeah, she's misfiring really good right there. So we got 14, 15, but it's not jumping out right now tons of, so it's not really telling us that we got a massive vacuum leak or a massive dumping of fuel. Those are relatively normal. fuel trim numbers when it's misfiring, so we can ignore that. We can just go ahead, pull the plugs, and see what we see. This is just a straight inline 4-cylinder, so those will be easy to pull. So yeah, let's pull those and see what they look like. Okay, so in these Nissans, there's just this little engine cover. They are 5mm Allen sockets. There's just 4 bolts. They come right out. I did notice, so when I was doing the power balance test on the scan tool, cylinder 4 was seeming like a dead miss. It wasn't changing anything. I did notice this connector wasn't in all the way. I pushed it some more and it did click. So maybe someone was here before. That'll take care of cylinder 4. But in the meantime, let's, since it's so quick and easy, let's pull these plugs and see what we see underneath. It is at 200,000 kilometers, and the guy doesn't remember the last time he's, or if he's ever had them changed. So we'll pull them out and we'll see what we see. Well, cylinders 2, 3, and 4, they look okay. The coils, at least. Cylinder 1, not so much. Let's pull that out. It's just got a bath. That ain't good. Ugh. The thing that's unfortunate about that is these valve covers. Normally on a valve cover, when the tube seals are leaking, you know, you just get the valve cover gasket set, you pop out the seals, you pop in the new seals. If you are doing this, if you have a Nissan and you plan on doing the tube seals, they're integrated into that valve cover. They may look like they come out, but they don't. If you get a gasket set, you will not find tube seals in your gasket set. So you have to replace the whole valve cover. So don't fall under that trap. Sometimes what can be really easy to do is, you know, you can just say, okay, yeah, it's just like every other vehicle. I'll pull the valve cover, order a gasket set, start yanking out the tube seals, and you go to do that, you end up breaking the valve cover because the seals don't come out. You go to open your box for the tube seals or the valve cover gasket set, and you don't find tube seals, you just find the outer gasket. And then what if you can't find a valve cover till a day or two away? Then you're in trouble. So yeah, forewarned on these Nissans, the tube seals are integrated. What I always like to do if it's on a vehicle I'm not familiar with, I will look up the parts on the part lookup websites and look at a picture to see what they come with before I go willy-nilly yanking stuff apart and breaking stuff. But yeah, we will probably do some spark plugs, and then definitely that valve cover. Let me pull some of the plugs out and we'll see what they look like. So looking at these plugs, they don't really look that bad, but you know what, they're not super expensive. We're here, we're gonna throw some new ones in. Anyways, as well, that coil that is soaked in oil, we will change that. And then the valve cover in this guy is pretty straightforward. You know, you got your PCV breather hose, just a clamp there. You got a harness here you pull out of the way. You got the line that goes to the PCV valve. Those can be a little annoying. You gotta be careful that they can break. Usually, and since it's such a tight molded hose, you know, it can be unpleasant trying to replace that or put bulk line in there. Sorry about the glare. I don't know what I can do about that. So in these kind of cases, usually what I'll do is I'll pull it off this end and then just leave it attached to the valve cover. That way I don't have to worry about breaking it. You know, take these bolts off here for the harness, try to get the harness as much out of the way. But yeah, there's all these 10 mils to go across. You don't have to touch anything to do with the timing. We will yank that off and continue on with the rest of our repair. Alright, so also I don't know how well you'll be able to see down there, but we did get some of the oil in the cylinder. So just in case they got too much oil in there, I'll suck some of that out. And what I like to do is, I got these brake bleeders. I get them off Amazon, they're only like 20 bucks. I just get the super cheap ones because it makes a mess of them. A brake bleeder is a fluid extractor. So I keep one of these for coolant and one for oil. That way I can kind of separate them with the disposals. And yeah, they make fantastic extractors. So I don't know if we can get that in a spot where you can see and I can see and everybody can see, but we'll put that down there. And then oh, okay, I figured out what I did wrong. Let's see if I can't get you down there. I'm on the threads, I'm not actually all the way into the cylinder. Let's try that again. Hopefully my phone will last long enough and it's not overheating. Let me get that down there. Okay, so now that we're properly in the hole, this should work a bit better. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, by now you can tell that the sucker wasn't sucking up. I do normally keep two, one for coolant and one for oil and everything else. This way I can dispose of the coolant in the coolant disposal separately, as well as the oil separately. What had happened is the one that I was using for oil, I don't know how well you can see that, I tried using that for cleaning up the slurry behind when I was doing intake valve decarbonization. And yeah, that was about all she wrote for that guy. Tried cleaning it out with solvent, sucking up some solvent, and that destroyed this guy too. So this is why I pick up the cheapest ones I can for $20 off Amazon, because I know I'm gonna wreck them, especially with all the oils and the crap that I sucked up. So in that case, what I had to resort to, just the old school method. Oh great, that's leaking too. Wow, one of the days. Just blowgun over the hole with a rag covering it, and you try not to make a mess like that. Unbelievable. What a day. What a day. Wow. Well, I guess I'm not getting out of here anytime soon. Anyways, carry on with the video. And you guys want to see something slick? Look at that. Got the new slip joint needle nose pliers that finally came in. Just finally got a set last night when the dealer came by. These things, as soon as I saw them, I'm like, that's a fantastic idea. Not only do they have great jaws on them, or great teeth, but slip joint for needle nosers. Those would be fantastic for pulling relays, amongst other things. I don't know if I can do that. Come on. So let's give them a whirl. I usually use these slip joints for pulling off these. Okay, then we also need to be really ginger doing this, pulling these off, but we'll see if we can't get this guy off with these pliers. I think my phone's complaining that it's too warm. Come on. Come on. Don't break. Don't break my achy breaky heart. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a different tool for that before I break it. But anyways, yep, we just got hoses, we got some harness, we got some bolts, off it comes. So since we got the plugs out, we don't want to start pulling anything until we fill those holes. So we got our replacement plugs came in, so we'll definitely throw these in before we start pulling anything else off. We don't want to drop a bolt down there. If you are otherwise waiting, one of the things you can do is you can put the coils back in without a plug, just to kind of prevent anything from falling in. But we got the new plugs, so we'll throw those in first and foremost. if you are working on this exact motor, there are 3 connectors that are down here. So one's here, one's there, one's there. Undoing those allowed me to pull this harness up quite a bit. You could carry on undoing more stuff to really peel it out of the way, but to me that is enough to give me better access, and then I can get the rest of them, because these bolts here, the bolts that hold the valve cover down, they do have a special shoulder on them to help center the valve cover. You don't really want to replace those with regular bolts, so you want to do everything you can to make sure you don't drop any of these. So pulling that harness up will definitely make getting this bolt down here much easier to get to without dropping. Okay, so we got all the fasteners out. All of them are out. Come on, focus. We still have this attached right there, but it's loosened off this side. This hose is pretty rigid. So once we get this valve cover up, we'll kind of pull it that way a little bit so we can get that off. We'll transfer that over to the new valve cover. Once we have it off, same thing with the cap, we'll transfer that over afterwards. So we'll just grab, since we're replacing this valve cover, we got less concerns about damaging it. I like to use these adjustable pry bars. Oh, this one came nice. And we'll just give it a yank. Sometimes they don't come so nice. Alright. Yeah, I guess this had more to go. I thought it was a little looser. Yeah, let me use my other hand for that. There we go. So, we'll just yank this guy off. Careful not to drop anything in there. And then, I don't know if you can see, so it looks tempting. It looks like you could get a tool in there and yank those out, but they are integrated. Those do not come out. If you have a tube seal leak on one of these Nissans, you need a whole new valve cover. Thankfully, these are relatively easy to change. You got right where this riser is, we'll put a drop of silicone there. Same thing on the other side. And that's it. There's no other seams. So we'll just put some silicone there. We'll make sure that there's no burrs on any of these tubes. On our new valve cover, we'll put, I like to use petroleum jelly on there, a little bit of Vaseline, so we can slip them over top, and we'll clean it up and get a new one prepped and throw it on. Okay, so we got our head cleaned up, our tubes are cleaned, free of burrs. You also want to give these a feel. Sometimes these can pop up a bit and you might need to tap them down. I don't really experience that much anymore, but I have experienced that before in the past. We got a couple little dollops of silicone where those risers are. We got our valve cover, our new valve cover prepped, the gasket's in. You want to give this a feel, lift it upside down, to see sometimes gaskets don't stay in the valve covers that well. This one is holding really nice as well. Sometimes you have to feed the valve cover under a lot of stuff. So if the gasket doesn't stay in there that well and you got a kind of a sketchy setup, then you might want to spray some gasket tack to hold it in better. This one is going to be really good. Feels nice. The valve cover itself is, I don't know, a little cheap, but maybe there's a reason why it was a third the price of the others. But that's what we got. So I use a bit of Vaseline on these tube seals. Gonna put a little bit on each of those, spread it around and wipe off the excess when I'm done. I think I just pretty much dropped all of it throughout the other side, but I like using Vaseline for a lot of this stuff. I do work in a tranny shop and that's all the boss uses for everything, so then I got used to using it as well, and it works nicely. Okay, so we're ready to throw that on and tighten her down. So it's not uncommon to have to help these tube seals down. I'll just use whoa, that's so close. I'll just use a screwdriver and just very carefully kind of poke at it I don't have the valve cover tightened all the way, I just have the bolts down enough to kind of hold it. And I'll just go around these tube seals, gingerly push them down below the seals, and then I'll finish tightening things up. But definitely make sure you take a peek at that before you put your coils in. Okay, so it's all tightened down, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but all of the seals are below the tubes. I have, in the beginning, before I started paying a lot of attention to that, I have seen some of them where I was about ready to put the coils in and the seals were actually above the tubes and it would have leaked a lot. Sometimes you can't get the seals to go perfectly flat against the tubes right away. They will straighten out as you're running it, and when you put your screwdriver in there, you know, just be mindful. You're just pushing a little tiny bit. You're not trying to poke through it. Make sure to start kind of in the center, go crisscross. What I always do with plastic covers like this, I'll do a crisscross and then I'll come back to the same ones, because what will happen is if you start from the center and work your way out, this won't be fully seated all the way, so you'll end up getting to these ones. These will tighten all the way because they'll seat, then you come back to these and these won't be tight at all. So I'll do kind of the center twice, just to try and get it seat first, so you really are starting from the center and going out, and go all the way around in a crisscross. And then once you're done crisscrossing, do another pass to make sure that they all are tight, that none of them loosened as it was seating. Of course, I forgot to mention before, make sure you transfer this hose on before you put the valve cover on, because you could do it with the valve cover on, but if you do it with the valve cover off and you transfer the hose over, it just makes it a lot easier. It's a little tight back there. But yeah, we'll just hook up all our hoses, tighten everything down, plug everything in, and we'll run it and see how she runs. Like a top. So what I'll do now, at this point, I'll clear the codes. I don't like to clear codes for misfires before I'm done with all my testing, because sometimes it resets misfire counters and monitors, and misfire monitors won't run until after it does other checks. Since this vehicle doesn't have misfire counters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to warm up. I'm going to go for a drive around the block a couple times, and then shut it off, and then fire it up again and allow it just to kind of idle while I'm doing other things, just to see if it sets any codes. Then I'll give it back to the customer, let them drive it for a little bit, and if they have any issues, come back. Just because otherwise it's really hard to tell if you're setting in an occasional misfire. But everything feels nice and smooth now, so I believe we got her looked, and hopefully this helped some of you guys out. If it did, please like and subscribe, leave a comment down below. Really helps out, and thanks for watching.